Who's excited to be here? That's about it. Tell me about that. Okay, I'm going to get started. I'm going to open up this session with the first presentation of the morning, and I want to talk about something. I want to share something in the next few minutes about accepting change, because I really believe that no matter what you do, ultimately, it's about accepting change that drives us forward. And it's such a big thing for me to talk about this. So please entertain me for the next few minutes as we talk about the change that's happening in the world. The year was 2005, and some of you might have seen this before, but it was such a big event for the broader world. This is the Roman Catholic Church. This is the Vatican. And a new pope was going to be put into place. A new pope is about to be elected. And everybody is just waiting outside at the Holy See. They're in tears. They are waiting for this news to be told to them that, hey, a new pope is in place. It's such an emotional time. And people are there not just for the sake of it. They want to witness history. They want to be part of something really, really big, and they want to share that moment through stories with their kids, their grandkids, their children, and so on. But a few years later, the same event takes place. But now, things have changed. People's lives have become digital. The smartphones, the tablets have taken over, and we're all capturing these memories with devices, with technology. And that's a huge shift that happened in those 6, 7, 8 years. The world changed after the iPhone was invented. And the biggest thing that I can talk about, that where we're headed as a race, as a people, as humanity, is just one thing, that change is a constant. Change is always happening. Change will continue to happen as long as we're alive. And we have to accept that. This is the biggest thing that people don't accept, that change is happening. So we're here to understand, in my session at least, that change is a constant. Now, trust me, it's really happening. It's really happening. Change is happening in many, many, many different ways. Smart cities, Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, blockchain, cloud. Everything is changing the way we work. So let's look at it. Let's look at how this change is progressing through the world. Let me talk about a few trusted professions that we've loved over the years, and that people that we trust over the years, and how that has changed. So, first of all, I know this is the US Postal Services. No disrespect to the Finnish postal workers. I couldn't find a picture. But the postal worker is one of the most trusted professions. We trust postal workers because they're nice. They bring us our mail. They, help us connect to the world. And so this profession has been trusted over hundreds of years, maybe a couple, at least 200 years. That's when the letter delivery started. But now, today, because of the advent of technology, this profession, it's not just the profession that's under threat. It's not just what people do, but it's that relationship we have with this profession is changing. Because now deliveries for mail can be done with drones. I was just watching a video today morning, and it was about food delivery, takeout delivery, using a drone in Iceland. So there's a company there that does food takeout delivery to a drone. It'll come to your house and it'll drop the food, it'll lower the food in Iceland. Because they have low-rise, it's a low-rise city, it's easier to get by and not get caught into regulation. So this is a big sign of change. It's not just technology, it's not just a drone, but this is a big change that is affecting things worldwide. From San Francisco to Iceland to Finland, who knows, tomorrow the whole world could be full of drones. Another trusted profession is doctors. We all know doctors. Half of my family members are doctors. It's a different thing whether I trust them or no, but generally we trust doctors with what they do for us. They treat us, they give us medicines, make us feel better. Who here visited a doctor in the last 30 days? Last 30 days. Anybody here? Right? Or the last 6 months, or the last 1 year. It's a frequent visited profession. But now we can have an app that can fill our prescriptions, that can tell us what problems we have, what disease we have. For most of the part, if I don't feel well, I go into Google and I type my symptoms and I try to find out what's wrong with me. I honestly do that. This is my life. And I'm sure many of you do that as well, is go to Google and see, hey, I have a headache, my leg is aching. So is that replacing doctors? I think to a huge extent, yes. It's disrupting the medical profession. What about Mr. Banker? So for those of you who don't have your money stuffed inside your mattress or inside your pillowcase, you have your money put into the bank, right? You work all your life, you make that hard-earned money, and you put it in a bank or a financial institution, and you say, hey, can you give me a return on my money? Because I trust you. I trust you that you will do this. But now banks are being disrupted by cryptocurrencies, by Bitcoin, Ethereum, and a bunch of other technologies that are taking over this trust paradigm, this trust relationship that we have with banks. How many of you here have heard about cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, Ethereum? Has anybody heard about them? Yes. Okay. Now, second question, how many of you actually went and bought it within the last 12 months? How many of you actually said, I'm going to buy Bitcoin? Anybody? There must be at least one person here. One. This is a bigger shift. It's a bigger change that's taking place. There's nothing wrong if you haven't bought Bitcoin. There's nothing wrong with it. You don't necessarily have to go out and buy it. But today, if we have 1% of people in this audience, I guarantee you that come next year, there will be 5 people. Come the year after, there will be 20 people, right? And so that change is also taking place in the financial sense of our lives. We have to recognize things are becoming different from what they were in the past. Now, a long time ago, when we had an occasion, a family get-together, we would all get together and share dinner, share a meal, have a great time. But now, that has changed. Because now our dinner table conversations are full of technology. We cannot I don't know if this is the situation here. I know it is the situation everywhere. This is how technology has taken our lives. We're on our cell phones, we're on our smartphones, we're glued to them. Our lives have changed, right? Whether we like it or not is a different thing. Whether we appreciate it or not is a different thing altogether. But our lives have changed. How do we deal with this? Now, here's an interesting thing. For the younger generation, this is how their life always was. They were born in the era of the cloud. They were digital nomads. They're born in the era of the MP3 player or the cell phone or the smartphone. They don't know anything else. And so there's 2 different generations that are part of this world today. It's the generation that saw the fax machine, that saw the tape player, that made mixtapes, which is a majority of you here. But then there's also the newer generation that has only seen the MP3 player. So we have to make sure that we understand that there's different forces at work today. The words digital transformation, where things are changing at companies. We have to go paperless, and companies are coming up with different initiatives. Cities are coming up with different initiatives, is in the right direction. Sometimes the terms are confusing, but it's all about changing our lives to be more digitally adaptive, to be more inclined towards using technology to change how we do things, to create more value, to carve out more time for us, to be more productive, whatever it is. And that's causing a big change in the world by changing professions, by affecting things that we do. I'm not going to go through the 4th Industrial Revolution because I know a majority of you or all of you probably already know it. But really, really quick, in the next 30 seconds, 1st Industrial Revolution was the invention of steam. That was big. 2nd Industrial Revolution was the invention of electric power, and that helped transport energy from one point to the other. The 3rd Industrial Revolution was automation and factory production and SCADA systems. And today we live in the era called the Industry 4.0, fourth industrial revolution, where technology is expected to uh, create a big impact because of what it's able to do. Artificial intelligence as an example, neural networks, quantum computing, these things have never happened before. And this is the era we live in. Now, interestingly, the rate of change of technology is becoming faster. That change I want to say this change thing in every slide. Rate of change is becoming faster. Now, a few years ago, these things were amazing. These were so cool that we all wanted to grab one of these. GoPro connected camera, and you can operate it using your cell phone, the wristband, or step counter, or health monitor, whatever you call it. The Nest thermostat. How many of you here own at least one of these devices? A lot of you. Okay, that's more than half of the people here. And 5 years ago, just 5 years ago, these devices were a revolution. They were so necessary and cool that we wanted to have them because they were great. But 5 years from now, they will be obsolete. And we might laugh on ourselves saying, hey, remember the time when you bought that wristwatch that looked like a health monitor? That was so stupid. And we're going to say that because that's how things are. So how fast are things changing? If you open the news, you'll see that things are changing pretty fast. Industry 4.0, artificial intelligence, mobility, blockchain, smart cities, and a bunch of other news is going to hit you. If this is the first thing you check in the morning, technology news, you will see there's more news than you can digest. There's more information out there than you can understand. And that's the reality of it. And so in effect, there's a type of revolution that's taking place. If you pay attention to it, you will see things are changing much faster than we hoped that they would change. Which brings me to talking about revolutionaries. So, traditional revolutionaries of the world, Sir William Wallace, not Mel Gibson, Martin Luther King, Mother Teresa, these are all revolutionaries, people who gave their life for something. They stood for change, they stood for truth, they battled everything and made sure that people got the right. They did all of that. This is the traditional definition of a revolutionary. But time is changing that. Technology is now changing that by changing the definition of a revolution. Any guesses on what the revolutionary of tomorrow is? Okay, the revolutionary of tomorrow, and it's my pleasure to introduce the revolutionary of tomorrow to you, is the smart toilet. This is what is powering the cities of tomorrow. This is one of the most loved things we will have in the future, is a smart toilet. And they say it's the revolution in your bathroom. So really quick, and I'm sorry to do this, but this toilet has a Harman Kardon audio system attached. It has virtual reality glasses. It is heated. It is the most comfortable place you want to be in your entire day. So the day is starting really well. The best part, though, is how can we live without an app? We have to have an app that does something else. For example, it does content analysis for the good, okay, diet suggestions, contact your physician, but more than anything else, it tracks your friends. How cool is that? First thing in the morning, you're tracking your friends. Yanni, bad points today. But this is literally the future. This is how our lives will be driven through technology. Now, they say that technology has progressed really, really fast in the last 8,000 years. Starting from the agricultural revolution, where we planted the first trees in the ground, to the first industrial revolution, to the invention of the light bulb, moon landing, World Wide Web, and human genome was sequenced. The time duration it took to do all of these things rapidly decreased. It took 8,000 years from the first agricultural revolution to go to the first industrial revolution. 120 years after, 60, 20, 6, 9. So that pace of change that time duration has really decreased, and we can just imagine where we will be in the next 5, 10 to 15 years. They say that by the year 2045, we will be in an era called as the singularity. This is the time when human beings and machines will be one. Maybe half of our bodies will be robots, and half of our consciousness will be up in the cloud somewhere to give us extra computing power. If you don't believe what I'm saying, look at this graph. And this is all facts, not any fiction, not a story. These are all facts. And that's where we're headed. Now, if you want to contradict mathematics, that's a different battle altogether. But this is where we're going. So they say that we're headed into an era where artificial intelligence could be dictating everything. It'll change the nature of our jobs. It'll change everything we do. And that could be the 5th industrial revolution. And we need to be ready for that time. And that's what we're doing here. So, ladies and gentlemen, the technology is driving the future by changing the element of trust. It's changing how we've defined trust in the past, and it's changing that definition. But there's also a negative side to that. There's a negative side to trusting technology, and you might all ask, hey, what about my privacy? What about my information, my data? And that's something we have to do together. And that's why we all are here at the Smart Cities Conference, trying to figure out. We're not just here to learn. We're not just here to understand. We're here to be in a dialogue. You know, the technologies of tomorrow are different, starting from freedom, something that gives us freedom, which could be artificial intelligence, to something that brings us peace of mind, which could be blockchain technology, or something that just connects everything to everything else through the Internet of Things. And these are new definitions of technology that I want to introduce, because it doesn't have to be complicated and complex. The world is definitely going to change. The idea of personal big data, where everything about yourself is captured in some kind of a database, in some kind of a mechanism, and it affects how you live your life. Did you know that in China, if you do an offense in a train, in a public train, you do something that you cannot do. Maybe you put litter on the floor, you smoke on the train. The police is going to give you points, negative points, that affects your credit rating. This is happening right now in China. And so that movement has already started, where information will affect us in a different way. It doesn't always have to be bad. So let's figure out how to be part of this world that's changing dynamically through technology, that we all are creating. We all are part of this. And so the question is, what exactly is changing? You know, the next 25 years, we'll see things such as the Hyperloop coming into place by 2025, really rapid transportation. Distances or long distances will be covered in a matter of minutes. Washington to New York, maybe 10 minutes. And we have a communication revolution where smartphones will be obsolete. They'll start getting obsolete as we go into devices that are non-intrusive, that are smaller, that have a different form factor, and so on. Driverless cars, the galactic revolution, the learning revolution, end of fossil fuels, and ultimately singularity, whether that happens or not, is the big question as well. And so the question becomes, how do we succeed in this future? How do we really succeed with the idea of smart cities? And we're here talking about smart cities today and tomorrow. Let's make sure that that dialogue is based on the element that we're here to create this change. We're not just here to be affected by this change, but we're active participants. I believe the road to success has 7 critical elements to it. It's about accepting change. It's about initiating change. Don't be afraid to do that. It's also about supporting change. You're doing that right now by being part of the industry. be part of change, help change, but also challenge change. There's nothing wrong in challenging things and intellectually saying, hey, why? This cannot be right. And sustaining change. Making sure that if things are changing, we help other people adopt to that change and help them understand what it does. So over today and tomorrow, let's be part of a dialogue that changes things for good in our companies, in our organizations, at our homes, in our lives, in our cities. And let's make sure that we're all doing this in a very positive way. I thank you for your time, and I welcome you to the Smart City Conference here by Big Nordic, and let's have amazing fun over the next 2 days. Thank you very much.